And that was Hillary Clinton in Warren, Michigan, laying out her economic plan, hoping to convert voters who are sitting on the fence about whether or not she would be good for the economy. She's currently trailing in the polls when it comes to the economy, who would handle the economy better. Joining us now from Washington is national political reporter for the Washington Post, Phillip, and Nancy Cordes, who's in Warren, Michigan at that rally. Nancy, let's start with you. Hillary Clinton has a road ahead of her. You know, Bernie Sanders did a pretty aggressive job in attacking her on Wall Street. She made the claim that it would be Donald Trump who'd benefit from a $4 billion tax cut with his economic plan. Do you think she won over voters with this?
Well, she's trying to appeal to a specific sector of voters, Rena, here in Michigan. Particularly, people have seen a lot of manufacturing jobs leave this state, others here in the industrial Midwest. And she's making the case, look, Donald Trump has now told you his plans. He was here in Michigan on Monday. I've told you my plans. We both say we want to cut taxes for the middle class. But who do you believe to actually follow through? Which one of us do you think stands by what we say? Which one of us has been consistent on some of these issues? Now, one issue she hasn't been consistent on, but she brought up here today, was the Trans-Pacific Partnership. This is a trade deal with Asian nations, incredibly unpopular because there are a lot of people here in Michigan who believe that trade kills jobs. It's part of the reason that she was beaten narrowly by Bernie Sanders. Here in Michigan today, she said no holds barred. She will not be supporting TPP, not now, not after the election. This is something that she has shifted on in an attempt to sort of follow the mood of the country, which is against these trade deals. At the same time, she said the U.S. can't run from the world. We can't do what Donald Trump wants to do and essentially shut our doors. She said that will only lead to more job losses, and she thinks she has a more sustainable approach to how to make sure that we don't lose jobs while at the same time being able to sell our products.
Abby, let's talk about that, jobs. Just a couple of days ago in the Washington Post, your paper, your colleague Jerry Markon had a really good investigative piece on job creation of Hillary Clinton when she was a senator here in New York. And she's talking about some of the same things that she touted when she was running for the Senate and as senator about creating jobs. But the Washington Post found that in the 8 years that she was a senator in New York, in fact, she barely created any new jobs, and manufacturing jobs plunged significantly in New York State. Now, Donald Trump talked about that earlier this morning, but it was sort of a blink and you miss it moment. It's something that he could probably hammer her on a lot more, but he's dealing with all of his other controversies. But so how do voters differentiate from what she said in the past and what she's saying today?
Well, you've hit on one of the key reasons why, as Nancy noted, Donald Trump does better than Hillary Clinton in the polls when it comes to handling the economy. And even more so, voters say that they think that Donald Trump knows how to create jobs better than Hillary Clinton. So for the Clinton campaign to face questions about her history of job creation, which really centers on her time as a senator when she claims to have created all these jobs in the upstate part of New York, for that to be in question, I think really undermines a core issue for a lot of voters. And it's a place where, despite her doing better than Trump in a lot of other ways, she's very weak on this very important issue. You know, upstate New York, earlier in the primary, she spent a lot of time there touting, you know, small programs that she said contributed to the sort of economic rise of that region. But we went back and found that many of these programs were so small bore, they created very few jobs. And in fact, the region did lose some jobs in her time as senator. Some of the plans that she had for that part of the country, she's trying to expand those into sort of national plans. And so it really begs the question whether sort of expanding out the things that she did as U.S. Senator to the rest of the country is actually something that would, in fact, create jobs.
And Nancy, the Post found that some of her pet economic projects involved loyal campaign contributions from people who supported the Clinton Foundation. So again, sort of wrapping up some of the things that we've been talking about, this strange mix, which optically does not look good, of the Clinton Foundation, the State Department, and even as her time during her Senate time.
Right. The one benefit for Clinton here is that senators aren't typically held to as great of account for job loss or creation in their states as, say, a governor might be, because the senator has less impact on on state development than a government does. They're not the ones who are holding the purse strings in that particular state.
Right.
They're looking by and large at national issues. On the other hand, the case that she's making is, well, let's look at Donald Trump's record. You like that he's a businessman? Well, let's look at the people who he has stiffed over his course of his business career. You think that he wants to create jobs? Well, take a look at his tax plan. He wants to help his wealthy friends. So she's really trying to chip away at that advantage that Abby pointed out that Donald Trump has on the economy, and the polls show that she has made quite a bit of progress. Our new CBS News polls are showing that she has closed that gap remarkably, and partly it's because she has stayed sort of relentlessly focused on one issue and one issue only, basically ever since her convention ended, which is the economy. She's been visiting small businesses like this one every single day on the campaign trail. Not coincidentally, they are always in battleground states. She does rallies like this one that are almost entirely focused on the economy, to the point where the campaign was billing this today, guys, as a major economic address, but she really didn't unveil any new policies because she's already talked quite a bit about the things that she'd like to do as president.
Abby, Nancy makes that point that she didn't really unveil anything new. We know that under her husband, Bill Clinton, the economy did grow significantly. However you cut or dice that, however it came to be. But she hasn't been shy about saying that she'd use him as an economic advisor. Do you think how does that play on the campaign trail?
Well, for Bill Clinton, his great strength is usually referred to as being the explainer-in-chief. And even beyond that, I mean, Bill Clinton has had a lot more success when he was president, when he was running for president twice, in parts of the country where Democrats don't do well, usually in the South, in parts of the Midwest, in places like West Virginia, for example, where Clinton was drubbed in the primary. So I think the campaign views him as someone who can really go into these parts of the country that have been more hostile to Democrats and sort of relate to those voters. But on the other hand, this speech was entirely sort of a refresher of many of the things that Clinton's been talking about from basically the beginning of this general election. And that's not by a mistake, that's by design. The Clinton campaign wants to really hammer home some of this stuff over and over again. And by contrast, Donald Trump has some opportunities here on the economy, but he hasn't really been, consistent in going after Hillary Clinton and trying to undermine her here. And that's one of the reasons why she has been making some ground in the polls, despite still trailing him by a little bit in the most recent ones.
All right, Abby Phillips in Washington and Nancy Cordes in Warren, Michigan. We thank you both for your reporting. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
It's interesting, to Nancy's point, senators generally are not necessarily held to trying to fix an economy in a state. That is generally the type of jobs that governors are responsible for. But Donald Trump, as Abby points out, has not been able to exploit that because, as you know, in politics, it's all about the perception and the optics. And he did spend a little time talking about that this morning, but perhaps not enough.
And it's interesting, his base, so many people feel that the middle class has not been given enough to help the economy heal, to help their pocketbooks. And even if his rhetoric is tough, a lot of voters are saying, we don't care. We want a change that will affect us and will affect us on the financial front.